Wow, just in time.
Right
JHK,
on the money.
what's going on? We are live.
Are we? Are we? Oh, all right, all right.
I know we can't keep the people waiting, but let me
Gosh,
just tweet this out real quick.
we're like a damn K-pop group, huh?
Mhm.
Sit in front row at a UFC, right?
I know, right? Holy
Can't
moly!
keep their hands off us.
I know. All right, people will probably be joining us momentarily. I am Mike Heck. We got Drake Griggs here. We got JHK in the house. UFC Brasilia is in the books with no gate and no attendance. Still, I think waiting on the performance bonus results, but
Those are out now, actually.
oh, what are they?
We got fight of the night for Mayra Bueno Silva versus Marina Moroz, which, a good one. And then Kevin Lee and Gilbert Burns, obviously. So for performance.
Oliveira, I mean.
Oh, yeah. Oliveira. What did I say?
Kevin Lee.
Oh, right.
Well, I mean, we're going to kind of talk about the big moments, in my opinion. Obviously, we had a whole plethora of decisions, and we thought that a certain light heavyweight fight would sort of break the mold between Nikita Krylov and Johnny Walker. And to everyone's surprise and my happiness, and I think a lot of other people's happiness as well, it didn't. It didn't lead to a finish. It went to decision, and because of that, the big story is Davidson Baker. Our good friend Davidson Baker is going to come on Between the Links on Monday to show off his brand new hairstyle, the Larry David. So he's going to shave, he's going to bick the front of his hair, and then he's going to leave the sides like he's got male pattern baldness going on. I cannot wait to see this. He put his money where his mouth was. He said, there's no way this goes to decision. I'll do anything if it does. And then you just cannot say that on that show, as JHK and Drake can both attest to. So how excited are you, Drake, as you're drinking? Is that a Corona?
No. I thought about that. Would be funny. It's a Bud Light Orange, though.
Oh, Bud Light Orange.
Cheers
Bud
to
Light
those
Orange.
light heavyweights.
Bud Light Orange. I never even
Oh,
heard of that.
It's delicious. It's new. It came out in the summer, I think, but it's very good. Yeah, man. Oh, I've never been so happy for a decision. Like, honestly, as it got to the third round, I was like, oh my God, it's actually going to happen. I was like so giddy, just like watching Nikita lay on him. I couldn't be more happy with how that turned out.
That was probably the most I was into a fight maybe in my entire life. So congratulations, Nikita Krylov, and thank you very much for performing the way that you did. So now we get to see Davidson Baker just look ridiculous on Monday night. I'm very excited. JHK, you might even be tuning into Between the Links on Monday to see this all unfold.
Oh, definitely, man. I'm gonna push that set reminder button right there.
Oh man, unbelievable. Joseph Boza, thanks for watching. So that was a great card. That was an interesting card to say the least, because no fans. Joe Martinez, as you know how I feel about him, Drake, one of my favorite ring announcers in the history of combat sports. Just didn't matter that there were no fans there. Just if Mick Maynard and the UFC personnel was all there, he held the mic like there were 100,000 people in that place. But Drake, I like to throw out the letter grade. So your overall grade on this card, just based on the action and not the awkwardness of having no people in the crowd.
Well, just to touch on that, honestly, I mean, it's hard not to notice it at first, right? But going into this, I was like, it's probably just going to feel like, Ultimate Fighter shows or Contender Series. And it did. There was still noise from the corners and everybody who's right around the ring, So, yeah, you notice it at first, like the first fight and the second fight. But then after that, I was kind of like, okay, this is just happening now. You get over it pretty quick. At least I did. As for the card overall, plenty of decisions, obviously, but they weren't, the worst decisions. They're very entertaining action and everything. Some very, competitive, close fights and some very not so competitive fights, which made things interesting. Good performances all around. As for a letter grade, though, I'd probably say that was a solid B for as much, decisions as we got. I mean, geez, the flyweights tonight performing as always. I mean, every time they go out, it's like just a reminder. Anyone who hates him's lying. That's like, come on, how do you hate these guys? That Marino and Formiga fight, like that should have been fight of the night for me. I think I loved that fight. Not to say the Moroz one was bad either, but maybe a B plus. I thought it was pretty solid looking back on it now.
What do you think, JHK? What's your letter grade?
Man, I woke up and the fight that was on was Hibas and Marcos, right? So it was actually a pretty good fight. I was wanting to see that one, but I didn't see the earlier fight, so I didn't get to see Morose or whoever Drake was talking about. Yeah, man, I don't know. I wasn't really like too hyped about the fight. Outside of uh the what is it, Damian Maya and Gilbert Burns. Like that was a fight. I felt like that should have been the main event, to be honest with you. But yeah, I just give it a B because Gilbert Burns, he kind of made the show, to be honest. Like he made this show. Like he went out there and just did what Tyrone Woodley did, what what's his name? Who's the champ right now?
Usman.
Usman.
Yeah, Usman. What those guys couldn't do is go out there and knock out Damian Maya, and he did it. So, that fight made it a B. If that fight wasn't on this card, I would just say it's like a C, just a normal, Humpty Dumpty little card out there in Brazil.
Yeah, man, huge win for Gilbert Burns. He made it happen. He backed up everything he said. He said he was going to finish Damian Maia. He did exactly that. Got into some scrambles on the ground with him and got back to his feet. He looked great on the ground. He looked very comfortable on the ground. He let Damian Maia sort of do what Damian Maia does, and I think he sort of took the steam out of Damian Maia. I think Damian just got him down and took his back and felt good about it. And then Gilbert Burns was able to explode and get back on his feet. And you almost saw the momentum just completely swing from there. And Gilbert just lands that ferocious punch. And that's it, man. He tried to be as respectful as possible. He thought the fight was over. I think a lot of us did once the back of Damian's head hit the mat, but ref didn't stop it. And I think Gilbert Burns didn't feel very good about landing those finishing shots on the ground, but he did and gets a huge win. So, JHK, let me ask you, with that win, what do you think makes sense for Gilbert Burns moving forward? I mean, Damian Maia, I believe, was the number 5 ranked guy in the division. I don't know if he makes that big of a leap, but I think he's definitely in that conversation. What do you think makes sense for him coming off that huge win?
He should be ranked top 10. I feel like he's number 5 guy, so he should be in there in top 10. But for some weird reason, I don't think that's gonna happen. I just don't feel that.
Never know with the rankings.
Yeah, you feel like maybe he'll be 10, maybe be even 11. But I like the Michael Chiesa fight. I feel like Michael Chiesa, he did beat Dos Anjos, but I don't feel like he should get the Colby Covington fight. I don't feel either of those guys should get the Colby Covington fight. I think Colby Covington has a bunch of other matchups in that top 5 or top 7 that he could take that will be a much better selling fight and more important for the division. So I'd rather see him fight Chiesa because I feel like that's a good matchup either way. And on the ground, I feel like that fight will be more fun compared to a Burns versus Colby Covington fight. But anybody wants to fight Covington. All the guys want to fight Covington. You know what I mean? Like, what's so surprising about that, right? Like, Burns, like I interviewed him last year, like at the beginning of the year, and he was talking about the Colby Covington fight then when he was just when he was entering the welterweight division. So it's like every guy in the welterweight division wants to fight Colby Covington, right? So, but does it make sense? I don't feel like it makes sense right now. But if he goes and beats someone like in the top 10, which is like a Chiesa who doesn't have a fight, even Nate Diaz would be a good fight, to be honest with you. That's a big fight. He's coming off a loss, and I don't see like a lot of people calling out Nate Diaz. That's weird too, right? Who's calling out Nate Diaz? Nobody. Everybody wants to fight Colby Covington. Why? Call out Nate Diaz. He's a bigger name.
I think because everyone hates Colby, and you just get that automatic rub if you go out there and you put on a performance and you beat the guy that everybody hates. But I feel like the momentum has swung a little bit. I feel like Colby got a lot more respect and a lot more love after that Kamaru Usman fight, even though it ended and Usman, kind of got the heroic praise. I think a lot of people gained a lot of respect for Colby Covington. Drake, before you make your pick on that, my first thought, and I'm sticking by it, I still feel the same way. I want to see Gilbert Burns versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I think that fight makes all the sense in the world right now. I think it's a good contrast to styles. I think Gilbert Burns will stand with him as much as possible, and then it'll be interesting to see what Stephen does on the ground. He's got very good takedown defense. He's good in terms of defense on the mat as well. I think that's sort of a really interesting stylistic matchup. What are your thoughts on that? And if you don't like that idea, if you want to poo-poo that, what is a better idea for you, Mr. Riggs?
I mean, this is kind of like bantamweight, where I don't think you can really go wrong with many of these matchups that you can make. And I was trying to think, as John was saying, that if you don't give Chiesa or Burns to Covington, then I'm like, well, I mean, then who'd you give him then? Because I mean, he's beat Dos Anjos. Looking at it here, he's beat Maya. Edwards and Woodley are locked up. The only other person really that makes sense, aside from Diaz, but I doubt we would, just doesn't seem very realistic. And then Jeff Neal, I don't think that's going to happen. It'd be Wonder Boy, I think, if you're not going to give him Chiesa or Burns. I love the Burns and Covington matchup. I think that would be amazing. 5 rounds of that. Oh, sign me all the way up. I mean, you could do Chiesa versus Burns too, but I feel like that seems a little unnecessary to kill off one of those guys. I mean, even though that's, the point, there's always that debate, like, do we want to have them go separate ways and meet up later or have a matchup now? I would prefer, I think Burns and Covington makes really good sense at the moment. I mean, Burns has so much momentum. He's won, is it 4 or 5 in a row now? And I mean, just knocked out Damian Maya. I can't believe that he's only the second person to do that. I didn't know Nate Marquardt was the only person to knock out Damian Maya. That's pretty insane. So big props just for that win. I mean, I know he wanted the submission. I was like, oh, that's going to blow my mind if he can manage to pull that off. This knockout just as good, though. Not as good, just as good. So I think that Covington one makes perfect sense. That's what he wants. It just seems like, who is Covington going to agree to? Because I'm still not confident that he's going to fight up for the UFC in 2021. I'm still sticking to that. So we'll see how things unfold. But I feel like that's the no-brainer in my opinion.
Yeah, obviously that'd be a great fight, but I don't see it happening just because I don't think Colby Covington would be all that interested in that fight. Mm-hmm. We got some people watching right now. Feel free to jump in the comments. Any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns in regards to UFC Brasilia? Leave them in there. Even just the future. We saw the Nevada State Athletic Commission have pretty much shut down until the 25th, and we'll see what happens from there. But it looks like some of these upcoming cards could be in danger of not happening in Vegas if they sort of just kind of carry on the same track we're on right now. But what an interesting time we're living in right now, that the UFC has really the only sporting event going on right now. It was on ESPN because there's nothing else to put on. The NFL has kind of shut things down. NBA shut things down. The NHL, so forth and so on. Major League Baseball, just kind of a wacky time right now, JHK. This is going to be a very interesting, could be month, could be a couple months with this coronavirus, COVID-19. And, you've been sort of in the thick of this for a lot longer than we have. What is sort of the vibe right now where you're at in the world at this point?
The vibe is like it's getting better. It's passing. I feel like if the U.S., right, if America or North America, all together, if they didn't learn anything from the Asian countries, is that you need to be ready for it. Don't, paranoia is good in many ways, right? And in this case, I think it is good. With what's going on here, they got the testing and it's free and all these things that's going on, that is helping prevent the spread. And I don't, you guys are living in the States. I'm seeing that in the States there is no test, or testing costs like thousands of dollars or something crazy, and they're doing it for free here, and you get the results the next day, and you could do the drive-through. And you guys, from what I hear, it's hard to find a place to go test for the virus, and it's just like what's going on, man. And that just tells me like, hey, you guys, the sporting, like NBA, NFL, baseball, New York State Athletic Commission shutting everything down, that's the right move to make. I feel like they're doing it for everybody. Like, hey, let's just stop. Let's just not even take a chance. But the funny thing is, I was thinking about George W. Bush. I don't know why, but I was thinking about George W. Bush, and when the UN told George W. Bush, do not invade Iraq, and George W. Bush said, fuck you guys, I've invaded Iraq. And then I feel like that's what Dana White's gonna do with with Las Vegas, and be like, hey, fuck you guys, we're gonna have the show at the Apex. Like, you guys can't go to the Apex. We don't need you. We're gonna bring our own guys in and put the shows on. But I feel like that's a bad idea. But I don't know, man. It feels like Dana White, he's feeling himself lately, so he might do it. What do you guys think? You think he's gonna do it?
I think if he can, he's gonna. I think if there's any way, shape, or form he can do it, he's gonna do it. But you know, there's just so many intangibles in the mix. You got international travel. You got to make sure these guys are tested ahead of time and don't have it heading into the fight. And if there is a problem getting tests here in the United States, especially in that part of the country, I don't know how you're going to get that done. I know they weren't testing anybody for tonight's card, so that's something to kind of keep in mind. I know England is an interesting one right now because some fighters are already over there. Others are wondering if they can even travel at this point. So this is just a really interesting time right now, and it looks like the UFC, at least if it's up to them, they're not slowing down at all here. Bellator canceled the card on last night, so that didn't happen. They took the fans out, then they took the media out, and then they just killed the card altogether and paid the fighters, everything they were supposed to make in terms of their purse and stuff. But the UFC holds the card tonight, even though everyone said we should shut it down. They did it anyways. So, Drake, I want to get your take on this. Do you feel like this card should have happened tonight? Because there's two sides of this. One is just like, dude, just err on the side of caution. The other side is, man, we kind of needed this tonight. We kind of needed some sort of sports. We kind of needed some normalcy to this, like Kevin Lee talked about heading into the fight. Where do you stand on this?
It's I get both sides, but I mean, at the same time, it's kind of fucking annoying, honestly, just because like I saw Dana tweet out after the event, the little screenshot of how the event was trending #1, and he's got the smiley face emoji. I'm like, dude, you know why that is, though. It's like, I don't think that's necessarily something to brag about, because that wouldn't be the case if everything was normal. It's like, I don't know, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, just because it's like you're going against what just seems kind of rational, man. Like, just give in. And the whole thing, it makes me wish more that there was a union than like any other time, because the thing is, these fighters and people, they're not getting paid unless they're going to do their job, because they're contractors that don't really seem like contractors. Big old debate we could get into there, but that's why it's just kind of a frustrating thing. It's like, yeah, they seem the most affected to me because of that. Like, no work for them. They got to go do something else. They don't have these guaranteed contracts like every other sport. No one to take care of them. And, unless they are getting some stuff behind the scenes. I don't know. It's really weird. Like, I'm so happy that Bellator still paid everybody, even though they didn't fight. That was the right move, obviously. I think, if we were going to do everything safe and proper and just seems morally right, I don't know, then cancel all the events but still pay everybody. Not gonna happen. No way in fucking hell that's gonna happen. But I mean, come on, man, just like swallow your pride a little bit. I don't know, that tweet really just bothered me a little bit. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's still such a crazy thing to me to fathom.
I still kind of feel for some of the Bellator fighters, especially the local ones, like Jessie Mealy. She sold a ton of tickets for that card, and she's probably not going to get any of that. And that's not her fault. That's not Bellator's fault. That's just the way that it is. I'm glad that she still got paid and everyone got paid, but still a very tough situation for those local fighters because they bank on that ticket money, especially the ones that are local. I know Jessie's got a huge following, so kind of unfortunate for her and some of the other local fighters, but it's amazing that it's been 18 minutes and 31 seconds since we started this, and we haven't talked about Charles Oliveira yet. Charles Oliveira goes in there and submits Kevin Lee in the third round. I thought it was an interesting fight. I thought, and this is just me, I thought Oliveira won the first round. I swung Kevin Lee slightly in the second round, and then Oliveira just did the damn thing in the third round and said, you know what? I don't want these Twitter judges judging anymore. I'll just put this thing away. Kevin Lee taps. Then he complains about the stoppage, says it wasn't right, but you could clearly see that he tapped out. A huge win for Charles Oliveira. That's 7 in a row. I've been waiting for the step up in competition, and he delivers in spades. So, JHK, your initial thoughts on Charles Oliveira, on Dubronx picking up his 7th consecutive finish? Where does that put him in the grand scheme of things in a loaded 155-pound division?
Man, it's like the perfect word, loaded. It's just loaded. Like Oliveira, what is he ranked? Is he even in the top 10?
12,
13.
Yeah,
13.
12, right? He's 12th or 13th.
Behind Gillespie.
Think like, yeah, behind Gillespie, right? And he's won 7 in a row, 7 finishes in a row, which is just insane in the light. He's like becoming the Tony Ferguson, the next Tony Ferguson in many ways, right? He's like just going in there and beating everybody and getting into these weird fights too. Like it's not like just normal fights. Like he sometimes will go in there and just dominate, and then sometimes he'll get into some weird fights. It's either or. Those days of him like having those weird fights that didn't end in his way seem like they're over now. You know, remember that fight where he got punched and he did like he didn't even do the snaky leg. It was like the stinky leg. I don't know what it was. It was weird, right? And he just dropped to the ground and got TKO'd. Was that the Cub Swanson? I think Cub Swanson fight.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the one where he got submitted by Anthony Pettis, right?
Pettis too.
And that was weird. Like you would never expect Oliveira to be submitted. And there was another weird fight in between then too. But it seems like those days are over. Like he's like in his prime right now. And it's just fun to watch him fight. Especially like he had his whole team dye their hair. Like they're really a team, you know, they're all platinum blondes, you know, doing the whole Cisco thing. And it's fun, man. It's fun. He brings something fun. And I wish he would learn English so he could kind of like come out and be more vocal, right? Be more vocal against like the top 5 or the top 10 or whatever. I think that'll be more fun to see. The big story is not really him though. I feel like the big story is Kevin Lee. It's like Kevin Lee is like Home Alone, you know. Kevin. That's what every promo should start off with, is that mom from Home Alone. Like he is so inconsistent, you know, like he's like he wins that fight against Gillespie. Everybody's like hyping him up, right? Am I wrong? Was everybody just hyping him up like he didn't lose his other fights before? Like he's like, oh, Kevin Lee is like he went to welterweight and just became a disaster up there. And it's just I felt like this was another fight that he could just show everybody what he's capable of, and he just didn't show anything, man. He looked like he was gassed after like 2 rounds, and he missed weight, and there's just everything just seems like once it starts cascading, it just the shit hits the fan for him, and it just comes out in the fight, and that's what happened. Props to Oliveira. Kevin Lee, he's lucky he's so young, is because he could come back from all of this. You know, we could be talking about him in 2023, you know, and like, oh, he's on 7-fight winning streak. He's the next Khabib, right? Like we could be doing that in 2 years. We never know, right, with this division. But right now, at this moment, man, Oliveira, who does he fight? I feel like he fights, man, he got to give him like a Justin Gaethje. And you saw that interview, right, where Justin Gaethje, his management turned down that fight, right, for him. Yeah. Like he didn't even make a decision. And I feel like that's smart on Gaethje, though, letting his management decide all those things. Because why? You can never go to Gaethje and say, hey, how come you turned down a fight with me? What are you talking about? I was even never offered a fight directly with you. My management takes care of all of that, which is actually smart. You know, no one could talk shit about that. But yeah, Oliveira, anybody in the top 5, man, I wish it would have been like a Dan Hooker. I wish Dan Hooker, like they didn't get lined up. But, you know, Dan Hooker's taking his opportunity. But I heard that fight is not 100% signed off, though. Dan Hooker signed, but it seems like Poirier hasn't signed yet from some of the interviews I've noticed between them two. So maybe that doesn't, you know, is not 100% a done deal. You know, it seems like Oliveira could hop in there real quick. Why not put, you know, if Poirier is not ready, put him against Dan Hooker in San Diego. Let's do it. I would love that fight. 5 rounds with Dan Hooker. Why not, man? I would like to see what Dan Hooker can do on the ground with the rubbery Oliveira. But sorry, went off too long.
No, that's a great point. I think Gaethje would be great. I think Hooker would be perfect. I think Felder works too. If that gets Felder off the couch and back at it, I feel like that could headline an ESPN Plus card rather easily. I think Felder's gained a lot of fans too.
Drilled a hole in his face though, right?
What's that?
The elbows.
Didn't Felder drill a hole in his face?
Oh yeah, but still, this is
okay.
This is a new day. I mean, who else is there?
Yeah, you're right.
Iaquinta? I mean, it's tough about being in this division right now.
Is an interesting fight too. That's a good one too.
But I feel like Iaquinta's kind of on. I'm not going to say the downswing, but he's lost a couple in a row at this point.
He needs a little give me one, right? He
Yeah,
needs
Got
that,
out
right?
grappled by Mike Perry, you guys.
that's true. That's true. So he's kind of in a tough spot right now, but that was a huge win for him. Let's go through some of these comments. Flubber from Another Mother. That might be the best YouTube name in the
Great.
history of
Phenomenal.
YouTube. Relaxed, comfortable, enjoyable podcast. Great combination of guys. Is really chill. I'm digging it. Appreciate that. Cansado Decimerda. Oliveira said in his interview that he had injured his shoulders 15 days before the fight and was concerned, but that in the end he managed to overcome adversity. That's another great point as well. Oliveira almost had to pull out of the fight. I know they talked briefly in the post-fight conversation, but I didn't really catch that interview with Karen Bryan afterwards. Joseph Boza felt like everybody thought Kevin Lee was hot shit because he gave Gillespie his first loss. I think it was just a combination of one, handing him the loss, and two, doing it the way that he did it. I mean, that was a ferocious knockout if you ever saw one.
And on a big card, right?
244.
Yeah, that was a 244. That was an MSG.
Yeah,
We were there, Mike.
We were. That was one of those holy shit
Madness.
knockouts. Boza said Gaethje's management wants him on standby for Khabib and Tony. Plus, the Conor factor is still there. You know, it's not done yet. It's not signed. But if you are even flirting in that conversation right now, you got to keep pushing. You got to keep sending those little texty texts, little smiley face, little thumbs up. Stay in the conversation.
Vibes.
If you get those positive vibes. So interesting, big win for Oliveira. Very impressed with him. You know, just he seemed very calm, relaxed despite the situation. I love how he came out in every single round with some sort of jumping, Ralph Macchio Karate Kid kick. Love that. Just really fun to watch right now. Renato Moicano, big win too.
Flowing though, like Oliveira was just flowing, like,
chill,
like
so good,
just chilled out, like rubbery. He's like the Gumby of the lightweight division, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
That's his new name. We're gonna go with that hashtag Gumby. Lightweight Gumby.
Hashtag Gumby Oliveira. I love it.
I mean, the way he was looking for legs, man. Yeah, that's a great nickname. I like that.
I love it. Renato Moicano, quick submission win. Finally, we got our first finish of the night. Got it done. There's some sort of back and forth between the two after the fight. I think the exchange was pretty hilarious. I wanted to go longer. Well, why'd you submit me then? Something of that sort.
Like, you got a point.
How do you not just laugh at that comment when that's just for some reason that Renato Moicano got very upset, but he looked good at 55. Good win, comes in there and stops the streak of decisions. So kudos to Renato Moicano. What do you do from here, Drake? He's only had one fight. It wasn't the highest ranked guy, but he calls out Paul Felder. I think that's an interesting call. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a bit of a jump, I would say.
Right?
Moicano, obviously very talented. Honestly, I never had him ranked as high as everybody else at featherweight. Because, I mean, if you look at who he beat and stuff, it was kind of guys who were older and on some slides. Like there was Cub Swanson is the one I mainly remember. But I just feel like he was ranked at like number 5 at one point. I never agreed with that. I thought he was like between 15 and 10 range, always there. Obviously, very talented guy, but he just never climbed as high as a lot of people thought, in my opinion. But obviously phenomenal win here. Very easy, very impressive, very quick. I was like, damn, that was like under a minute. And I wasn't paying attention at the time. It was under a minute, 45 seconds or so. So where do we go from here at lightweight? If you're going to give him anybody who's ranked right now, Alex Fernandez right there at the back of the line, I'd be fine with that. I don't know if he's got an opponent yet. I know that does he have an opponent? Oh, that's right. Okay. So maybe I don't know about the winner of that one, because that kind of puts that person up next to go higher. Yeah, I don't know what you do with him. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head.
Like a guy like Drakkar Klose.
Yeah. Oh, Gillespie. That could be a very good one. Yeah. Close. That works too. I mean, Dariush, he's got to be sliding close in there to maybe not for make that fight, but Dariush has to be like 16 if he's not 15 after that. Right. I mean, he's back on it now. I mean, there's so many options at, lightweight. So, it'd be interesting to see if he can, pull off a similar performance against some better competition. No offense to Hadzovic or anything, but not the tippy top. This was a good entry fight for him into lightweight. Excited to see what he can do from here. I mean, it's always good to have options at lightweight. It just makes things all the more interesting, really. So look forward to whatever's next.
Lightweight? I didn't even notice that he was at lightweight until
I didn't notice either. Yeah.
Like was there anything about that?
I don't know if there was like because of the weight cut or whatnot. He was just maybe just needed a change because I think he'd lost 3 out of 4 heading into that fight, if memory serves me correctly. So, there you go. I mean, I think it's a good move. Any move that keeps fighters from cutting too much weight, I'm totally okay with. But here's an interesting question from Flubber for another mother. I'll just keep asking questions, Flubber, so I could say that a million times. What is next for Kevin Lee? That's an interesting question. And there's a multitude of different ways.
And Anto Moicano.
There you go. Kevin Lee versus Anto Moicano. No, but I mean, does he stay at 55 because he missed weight again? Does he jump back up to 70? Because there's some options there too. I mean, what do we do with Kevin Lee? What do you think makes sense, JHK?
Dariush. I like that fight.
That's fun.
I feel like, Kevin Lee lost this one. Dariush coming off that sick knockout, he has a little bit of steam, and that's what I think Kevin Lee likes, that a little bit. He likes taking on, those types of guys like a Gillespie. Dariush still, he also has that little bit of momentum. I feel like stylistically that would be a good matchup. Dariush will be able to he won't really go to the ground, right? He'll go there, but he's not gonna be the one that's like forcing the ground too much, right? He'll do it from time to time to mix it up, but I feel he can stand and trade with Kevin Lee, and I feel this will be a good matchup. I see it. You could put that on a fight night. You know what I mean? Like a fight night main event in probably like what is it? Bellevue, Washington, or something like that. If you've been to the Northwest.
Bellevue. Whoa, I like the shout.
Or Birmingham, Washington.
Hashtag UFC Bellevue. I love that.
Yeah,
The Bellevue folk will be very excited. You know what I think might be interesting? And I know we've thrown his name out a little bit, but I mean, Lee, despite the performance tonight, despite dropping 3 out of 4, still has a name. People still think he's got some value. What if we run back Michael Chiesa at 170? Is that like completely nuts on my part?
Yeah.
You both are shaking your head, so I guess I'm an idiot.
Like Bill Murray nuts. Like,
Hey, I'll take the Bill Murray. I'll take the Bill Murray comparison.
Anything Bill Murray, yeah. I think that maybe not the best stylistic matchup for this potential opponent, but I want 170. Give me Kevin Lee versus the Leech. Give me Li Jingliang. I mean, both coming off losses, so that's I think that could be fun. I'd say, a little rough maybe after seeing how the Magny fight went. But man, Lee, just too many weight problems in this last so many fights for me. I think just give 170 another shot, man. It was one and done. Why even bother? It was kind of a weird thing when he went back, after Gillespie, and we're like, well, hold on, man. I mean, usually it's not, people don't usually just go up once and then be like, fuck it, we're going back down already. I lost to, one of the best welterweights. I'm done with this. Give it a longer chance, man. So no matter who he fights, go back to 170. But I like the Leech fight. I think that's a good one. Don't give him a top 15 guy. Kevin Lee, they have been putting him into so many bad situations, I think, since that Tony Ferguson fight. He just got to like this level where they're like, all right, he's the guy now who's up here. We've seen he's not necessarily on that. He's had good performances, obviously, with the Gillespie win, but it's not the same. All right, I think we jumped the gun on Kevin Lee. And he's still potential, still young and all that, but let's take it down a notch. All right, we don't have to keep him in the same spot every time,
or just put him on a pay-per-view main card, but not in the main event. I feel like he's struggling in those main events, but that was a 6 main event. I could going back and looking at it, I was like, holy crap, so it's a 6 main event. But when he's not in the main event, he does really well. I mean, look at the Gillespie fight. It was the first fight on the main card, I believe, or second, and he just goes out there and starches Greg Gillespie. So I don't know. I mean, again, you get 2 weight classes to choose from. I wouldn't give him a rank guy in either of those divisions, but we are where we are. What else? What else are we missing here? We already talked about Walker and Nikita Krylov. God bless both of those guys.
Our heroes.
Francisco Trinaldo gets a nice win over John McDessie. Brandon Moreno, big win for him. I had scored it for Moreno. There's a lot of people out there who thought that decision was crazy. I thought Moreno won that fight. Did anybody else score it for? Did anyone score it for Miga? I scored it for Moreno. I thought it was pretty clear.
Yeah, I had 29-28 for Moreno. Also, I wasn't mad at the 30-27 for Moreno. Even I was like, I can see that first round going to him. Really fun fight. Like I said, probably my fight of the night. Personally, I enjoyed that one a lot. That was super fun. Crazy scrambles. It was so impressive, man, how Moreno was able to deal with all the grappling that Formiga has, because Formiga, man, on the ground, no joke. When he got out of that guillotine while they were still dry, I was like, it's over. And then he gets out. I was like, what? Like, that's crazy, man. That was insane. So yeah, I thought that was a fine decision. I didn't know that there was outrage. I totally missed that.
Yeah, I think I want to say, I don't know if it was Nick Baldwin who tweeted this. If there was a crowd, they would have booed that decision. I don't know. Maybe just because of the Brazilian factor, but I thought it was a clear win for Brandon Moreno. What do you think, Jay?
That's interesting. There's no boos and there's no cheers. You know, like when the decision is red, it's just red. So there's no impact from the crowd, right? Which makes it weird. I didn't even notice that until you said that right now. I was like, that, you know, we didn't get that today. We didn't get the boos and the woos and the whoos and the ha's and what do the Brazilians like to say when a non-Brazilian comes out? Like, you're gonna die. We didn't get that, you know, like it was weird. It's almost felt like they were fighting, not even in Brazil. They were fighting in some empty lot on the set of Never Back Down. It seemed like that, right? A little bit, didn't it? Because they were playing the music. It was all dark except for the octagon, and then they were playing the music. But who's listening to the music?
Yeah, just the fighters.
Nobody. It was just very odd. And there's, you know, of course, One Championship's gonna do those shows like that pretty soon, and I guess the UFC is gonna do it too at the Apex if they can. But yeah, like going back to the flyweight fight, you know, he won the fight, but it wasn't like, oh my God, he won the fight. You know, like it didn't like solidify him as the next title challenger. If he gets the title shot, good for him. You know what I mean? You know, he's an exciting guy. He could probably go in the next fight and finish the guy. You know what I mean? Because Moreno's just getting better and better and better. You know what I mean? It could have been just stylistically, he just couldn't get a finish in this one. But it was, you know, they had great scrambles, like you guys said. But I don't feel like he's gonna get the title shot. I want to see him fight Pantoja, because he's lost to Pantoja twice.
Both great
and
fights.
Pantoja's up there, and if they make the fight, the rematch between Figueiredo and Benavidez, then that just leaves those two just sitting with their thumbs up their asses. So why don't they just fight on the same card on the same night? And if it falls out, what do? You give one of those guys a bump to the main event or the co-main event or whatever, and it all works out at the end. You know, let's say in the summertime, maybe International Fight Week, book those fights. I did your job, Mick Maynard and Joe Silva. No, sorry, not Joe Silva. The other guy, what's his name?
Sean Shelby.
Sean Shelby, yeah. You know,
man,
let's do it.
Mick Maynard doing the woos, trying to get some crowd noise going early on, which I thought was very funny.
Hit him in the nuts.
That was a great fight. And I have been fully on the Amanda Hebus train for a while, and man, she got a huge win, just destroyed Randa Marcos, who's very tough, and just went out there and delivered. What was it, 230-25s in that one, and a 30-26? Dominant win. Like, I'm kind of glad Paige Van Zandt didn't get that fight, because I don't think that would have gone much better for Paige. But be interested to see where Amanda goes from here. Some names on that resume that are getting chalked up here. Let's get some questions. What about Walker's loss? I would appreciate if you guys could walk through tonight's fight. Another derailed hype train.
Pump the brakes, man.
Yeah, I don't think we're quite there yet. I still think he's in terms of where he's fighting in this division. He's still got some work to do, clearly, but maybe it's just the matchups there. I thought the Krylov matchup was I didn't expect this to go to a decision. I don't think anybody expected this to go to a decision. Clearly, Davidson Baker did a decision. but it did, and Krylov had a good game plan. So, you know, what do we do with Johnny Walker, Drake Riggs?
Oh boy, what do we do with Johnny? You give him somebody who isn't going to grapple him.
True.
I don't know. Yeah, I think it's too early to say that, you know, the hype train has been well, I don't know, man. There was a lot of hype on him. I think it's been derailed. Well, I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to agree with our commenter here. Johnny Walker, man. They were talking about putting him against Jones. Come on, that would be a disaster. Even though Jones isn't going to come at him as aggressively.
That was the media. Remember, that was the media. That was
the media. You guys, that's us.
Were you saying that he should be fighting Jones?
No, I wasn't, but
yeah, but that was the media. I think kind of pumping that a little bit too much. In many ways, I don't think like like the fighters were saying that. I don't think like
Yeah,
the
true.
commentators were saying that, right? I don't think the Dana
Oh,
White was saying that. It was kind of the media pumping him up a little bit, and he was drinking the Kool-Aid. He was at the water cooler filled with Kool-Aid, drinking it all day, every day, right? And then and look what happened to him. Look what happened to him. You know, like I feel like John. I'm gonna let you talk first, Jay, because I kind of took over when you were speaking.
It's
You know, I
all
don't
good,
wanna be
brother.
rude.
All
So
good,
go
my
ahead.
man. So yeah, what do we do with him from here? I mean, if we're not giving him a grappler like I suggested, this was one of my options. I made a top 5 list for Yuri's debut. Just do that. I mean, it's a little mean because that's a hard one for Walker to rebound on. But I mean, I'm not. Come on, let's get violent.
That's super violent.
You
I
hate
know.
Johnny Walker. You hate that guy.
I know. I would prefer Yuri to fight. I wanted him to fight Glover. I thought that was perfect debut, but then they gave him the Anthony Smith one. Obviously, they're not going to treat Yuri as highly regarded as maybe you and me think of him and John. I'd have him at like number 7 on my rankings. I think he deserves to be there. He's proven it, even if it's not in the UFC. Yuri's so good. I love Yuri. So yeah, I don't know with Yuri, not with Yuri, with Johnny Walker here. I got the rankings up here. Let's see. Shogun is still ranked here. We got Jacare. Shogun, he just got matched with Little Nog again. I don't know, man. Not a grappler. How about that? Just anybody.
He can't be a top 15 guy.
Yeah,
he can't
no,
even
no.
be a top 20 guy. I don't feel
Yeah.
like. I feel Johnny Walker needs to go back to TriStar and just lock himself in TriStar for like 6 months
Mhm.
I agree.
and work
More time.
and work and work because he's 27 years old, man. Like he's not old at all, and he's a kind of guy that eventually he's gonna go up to heavyweight. He's a gigantic dude. Like I met this dude. Like he is massive, right?
Mhm.
But not like fat massive, like even off season, like he was still built. So like I feel like I think a lot of it is mental too. Like a lot of it's mental and working with Faraz Sahabi. I know that Joe Rogan's like, Faraz Sahabi is one of the best coaches in the history of, like, he has like 3 coaches that he always talks about, right? In every show. Like, if Faraz Sahabi is one of those guys, right? But it's true. He is one of the great minds of this generation. And if Johnny Walker locks himself, I think 6 months will do it. Lock himself in there. Don't do anything else. Just train and kind of like soak up that knowledge and just talk to Faraz and just get the mental side right. I feel like he could come back and take on a guy that's outside the top 20 and build his confidence from there. Not like come in and fight even like fighting Yuri or something like that. Because for some reason, I think they're gonna do that to him. Like, even
That's why I
if
brought it up.
he comes
That's
back
why I
6
brought it
months
up.
later, he's gonna fight someone like a Yuri, and it's just gonna be a fucking disaster. Or it might not be a disaster if he takes some time and goes up there and trains hard with Faraz. But who knows, man?
I think there was definitely improvements from Johnny Walker. I mean, the game plan from Krylov was perfect, but I thought Walker didn't look like a complete shitbag on the ground, like especially in that second round. I thought he did okay. He got on his feet a couple of times, able to reverse position. He got in full mount at one point. He was landing shots. If that second round had lasted like another minute, who knows how that fight would have played out. But what was it? Was it beautiful jiu-jitsu? Was it beautiful groundwork? No, but compared to what if we thought we were going to see Johnny Walker on his back at any point in that fight, we probably didn't think he was going to get out of the round or anything like that. I think he had some flashes of improvement. I will say that. Drake's looking at me like I drank 16 Bud Light oranges making that statement, but go ahead, sir.
The right when he said the full mount, man, just the way he gave it up so quickly and easily. When that happened, I was like, dude, how do you let that happen, man? Like, that was the turning point. You mentioned
Still
like
got there. I didn't think I'd see that.
Got there, but man, I was like, oh, he gave it up so easily. I was like, dude, you could have finished it there if you stayed in that spot. But I thought of this too, though. How about Walker versus Gokhan Saki?
Oh, I think that's like perfect.
That's the one. There we go.
I think that's perfect. Unless he
Okay.
locks himself in with Faraz for 6 months and then
Exactly. Take some time.
yeah, just do it now. Just do it in like a month. Just let those two just beat the shit out of each other. That'd be a fun fight. That would be a
Yeah.
lot of fun. Let's see what else we got here. Flubber from another mother. Do you think the lack of crowd affected your enjoyment? Did it affect the performances of the fighters? It didn't affect my enjoyment. It was a little weird, but I think after like the first two fights, I was past it, honestly. Did it affect the performances of the fighters? Honestly, I thought the one guy it might affect would be Renato Moicano, but clearly it didn't affect him. He had all these other things that were motivating him as well outside of the crowd. He did mention that it kind of sucked fighting at home and fighting in his home country and not having people there watch him. But at the same time, he just became a dad and he had all this other motivation going on. So I didn't think it affected the performance of the fighters. I'm sure it affected a couple of them because some people feed off that energy, but most fighters you talk to, John, you could attest to this. They don't even hear the crowd, especially when they go to Brazil and they're being told they're going to get killed and die at some point in the fight, and they usually are able to block that out. I think, honestly, if there's one person I think it might have affected, it is Kevin Lee, because Kevin Lee loves that shit. Loves it. He loves when the crowd wants him to die. He wants to be the heel, and he didn't really get this opportunity, but that would be my pick. Anybody else think that affected anybody? Did it affect the way you viewed the fights tonight?
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, and I agree with you. At the first two fights, you kind of notice it, but then after that, it just goes away. You're like, all right, they're fighting again. Nobody's really reacting, and you hear the echoes of pretty much everything, which is funny. But you get over it. You notice it go away real quick. As for affecting people, I felt this way because of the decisions, and maybe people weren't energized or like amped up by just the just the energy from the crowd. Maybe, I mean, that's debatable, but if there was anything, I could say maybe that because of all the decisions we got. But I don't know. We still saw a lot of good fights and performances. So in that regard, it's like, nah, I'm probably not. I mean, maybe if the fights were super boring, that would be a more reasonable thing to say. But I think everything turned out about, as if there was still a crowd there for the most part. I mean, I don't know.
It was like watching the Contender Series or watching the Ultimate Fighter live. It's just the same feeling. I didn't even really pay attention to it too much, right? I knew it was happening, and it was weird when Gilbert Burns knocked out Damian Maia, and he was screaming, but he was screaming at nobody, because I felt like he lost it for a moment in his mind. He thought he was in front of a crowd, but then he realized after screaming, like, oh shit, there's nobody here. Like it's like that thing does, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, did the tree fall in the forest? Did it make a sound? All that shit, right? So yeah, it was kind of like that. What was I gonna say? Damn, I lost. I had something prepared in my mind, but I lost what I was gonna say. But yeah, it's this would have been a perfect event, since it was outside of the USA. It would have been a perfect event to have that open scoring, to be honest with you. No crowd, like the judges, between rounds, you tell them what the score is, you tell the corners, whatever. It would have been a good like little extra spice to this event, right? Open scoring, just try it out. You can do it. You're over there. Why not? I know they have a commission, but I'm pretty sure they'll let the UFC do what they want to do, right? Right? Like commissions in the other countries, the UFC Cubs, they're like, hey, you could shit on the fucking octagon if you want to, right? It's like they can do whatever they want. So why not try that out? I wish they would have done that, but yeah, it didn't really affect me at all, man. I just feel like it didn't affect the fighters. There are certain fighters that it does affect, like you said. Kevin Lee loves it, but most fighters, they don't care. They're gonna get paid. They want to win. That's the two main things I think is they want to get paid, they want to win. So let's go get that money. So that
was the first time Kevin Lee's lost like overseas, right? Like all his other international fights, he's won up until this point. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I heard that on the broadcast, but maybe I'm wrong. Let's see what else we got here. I could see ESPN simulcasting UFC Fight Night 171, Woodley versus Edwards next week. Huge fight. With the win, that'd be 8 in a row for Leon. Would that give him a title shot in the future with Kamaru Usman? Honestly, I thought Leon Edwards was going to get the shot right after Kamaru Usman won the belt, to be honest with you. I thought that was the fight to make, but they decided to give him Woodley, and I think that's actually a perfect fight at this point. And it looks like all signs are pointing towards Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. So, I mean, clearly if Leon Edwards beats Tyron Woodley, he gets the winner of that fight, right?
Oh, yeah. He better. He freaking
What else?
better, man.
What the hell else
Jesus.
does he have to do?
Seriously.
I mean, honestly, that'd be a huge
Edwards,
win.
if Woodley wins, you know that situation, right? If Edwards wins, of course, logic will tell you that he should get the next title shot. But in the business of the UFC, if Edwards wins, he's going to be used as like a pawn in the negotiations for the big fight, right? That's what's
Correct.
going to happen.
Yeah.
They're going to use him against Jorge Masvidal. They're going to use him against whoever the opponent's going to be. They're going to use Leon because Leon wants that title shot. I feel like he does want money, but the title shot means more to him. So they could like lowball him and at the same time lowball Masvidal or whoever else is there. And if they don't take that fight for this amount of money in the negotiations, then they say, okay, then you don't get the fight. Leon, you got the fight, right? I feel like there's gonna be some stuff going on in the background that's gonna determine, especially with the money. You know what I mean? Because everything at the end of the day comes down to money, right? So I think that's what's gonna happen. And it kind of sucks for Leon because I don't know, it sucks for him because he's gonna, what is it? 8 in a row, right? 8 in a row,
If he
like
wins,
in that
yeah.
division.
If he
That's
wins.
insane. And if he finishes Woodley, but one thing about Woodley, after every loss in his career, his next fight is a first round knockout. Just remember that. After every single loss, he comes back and just demolishes his next opponent. Stun gun, whoever else was there. I think was it like Robbie Lowe? I don't know, but there's a bunch of them, right? But anyways, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's weird. Like, what is Usman doing? You know what I mean? Like, what is he doing right now? Is he training for a fight? There's no signs of like any kind of matchup coming up, right? Everybody wants certain fights, but what's really coming up are they waiting for International Fight Week or maybe because of this Corona thing, they don't want to like announce anything. I don't know. It's just, of course, Usman's down there at Sanford training, but is he training in a camp?
I think he's
don't know,
healing
man.
up
It's
too.
weird.
Wasn't his hand hurt or something? So I mean, a combination of
Man,
what you just said.
he's
I
like
think
he's like a GI Joe, man. Like everything's broken. Right, but he still fights and dominates, right? Which is crazy.
Yeah.
He has to walk like he has to walk on he had to walk on grass because of his knees. And when he walked upstairs, he had to walk upstairs backwards. That's how like banged up he is. Crazy. That's just a tough son of a bitch right there. But don't count on Tyron Woodley. There's a lot of people that are just thinking like Leon Edwards is going to step all over Tyron Woodley. I remember I interviewed Abe Kawa on New Year's Eve, and we were talking about a whole bunch of different things. And he told me the most emphatic thing he said was, I feel bad for whoever Tyron's going to fight next. Because I know the Leon fight was being discussed, hadn't been signed at the point at that time, but I felt something. Like I got chills listening to him talking about Tyron Woodley. He goes, I feel bad for whoever Tyron fights next because that dude is ready to murder somebody. And obviously he's in training in Thailand, definitely a different thing, just leaving his family and sort of isolating himself with those guys, but kind of a tough situation to be in. But that's a great fight. I kind of hope we see it, but at the same time, I kind of hope we don't see it right now because they shouldn't have any fights at this point, but it was good to at least have something tonight. It's a tough thing. Let's see what else we got here. I think the fighters did a great job tonight. Reminded me of the Ultimate Fighter, as JHK said. The only thing that was shocking was by 8:30 p.m. the fights were over. I can dig that any week. Cansado, Decimerda. What's next for Damian Maia? I know he's got a couple left. I think what's the countdown at 2 now, or has he got one more left? Because I know he had he said he had, at some point he said he had 4. He's going to do 4 more fights. I don't know if 2 of those are gone or 3 of those are gone.
Honestly, I don't think he should do any more. I mean, why? He's not going to get another title shot. It would just be kind of like for fun, like that Aldo retirement tour that totally got canceled. So I mean, and especially after a knockout like that, man, only the second knockout of his career. Crazy, man. Just save yourself some potential punishment. I mean, if you match him up against like Wonder Boy next, I mean, there's still some fun fights for him that he hasn't fought, which is kind of crazy to think about. But I mean, man, you've been there, you've done that, except for win the title. That's just a thing that's not going to happen at this point. You've had a great career, the best grappler we've probably ever seen in MMA. I mean, just you see how he was able to control Gilbert in certain situations. And props to Gilbert for being able to get out of those. That shows how good Gilbert is. But I mean, Damian still got him there. So, I mean, that just shows how good he is at the same time. I don't know. I just feel like there's nothing left for him to really do besides backpack some people that, we don't want to see backpacked. So it's just like, I don't know. I don't see the point in him doing it anymore. But if he wants to fulfill his contract, the props to him too. I mean, can't blame you for that. Makes a little extra money before you go out, as long as he's gonna stop once it's done. We're very close to the end of Damian Maia's career. Let's enjoy it. If it's gonna end here in 2 more, or let's say it was fun while it lasted. If this is the end, because I don't know. I don't see much left.
Yeah, I mean, there's only two roads you can take here. One is you take the, maybe a Wonder Boy road. Let's get 2 like very respectful guys in there for one more. I don't want to see that one. I know Wonder Boy was not all that interested in that fight because Wonder Boy has aspirations at the belt. But the other road you can take is you put a young guy up there against him and try to get over on Damian Maia. I mean, that's really all you can do at this point. But again, it's scary. It's a scary fight for the Jeff Neals of the world. I don't know if you want to take that risk with a guy like that.
Exactly.
Although Jeff Neal, very dangerous guy and has the striking to do exactly what Gilbert Burns did tonight. But if that fight gets to the ground, that's a whole different ballgame. So JHK, what do you do with Damian Maia here? If he's got 1, maybe 2 fights left, you got to do something.
Woodley loses against Leon Edwards, you put that Woodley rematch together.
How dare you?
Why not? Why not?
Get out of here, man.
Why not?
Give
him a chance to submit Woodley. Why not? Come on. You gotta give him a big name. You gotta give him somebody, either they're a big name or they're ranked high, because he's still ranked high. You know what I mean? You can't just give him a young guy. Why would you do that? Why would you want to give him a big name and that could headline a fight night in Brazil? Somebody that has a name. Who's a big name, Drake? You seem like you have somebody.
Okay. It's not gonna happen. But in my perfect fantasy world, headline a Brazil card against Nate Diaz. That's what I would love. Never gonna happen. That's perfect though. Come on. That's the matchup.
Nate Diaz is never going to Brazil. I don't think Nate Diaz will ever leave the US to fight.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at the rankings right now. We got Maia at 5, so you got Thompson at 6, but Maia's going to take a jump back, obviously. Chiesa at 7, RDA at 8, Nate at 9, Jeff Neal at 10. Then you got Robbie Lawler.
That might be the one.
Yeah. Pettis at 170. And then there's Luke A and ranked number 15 at welterweight, Conor McGregor. Maia McGregor? How about that now?
Yeah, for Polaris or something. Or Smith Underground or something.
I think Lawler's pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah,
I want to see him against like a grappler, someone that has decent striking, but is willing to go to the ground.
Chiesa?
And yeah, like, did he fight Chiesa already? Oh yeah, Chiesa's been calling out Maia for a while, right? He's been wanting to fight Maia, right? I think I've heard that before. Yeah, that is interesting. You're right, Mike. That would be the one. I feel like that would be a good one. Like, Chiesa's up there in the rankings. Maia is up there in the rankings still. Yeah, both of those guys could go to the ground, but it could be a jab fest though, which it could happen, right? Because both of those guys have decent jabs, right? And it should be a jab fest, and who doesn't love a good old fashioned jab fest in Brazil?
With those 2 guys,
decision, why not? Why not have that?
I think that's it. Chiesa's like in a great position right now, is he not? I mean, he has so many options, and he's got guys calling him out. I mean, he calls out Colby. He's got Neil Magny calling him out. I think that fight makes tons of sense. He could fight Maia. He could fight pretty much anybody right now, and it makes sense. So he's in a really good position at 170 pounds right now. What else we got?
I like Wonder Boy and Chiesa, honestly, just to actually throw out all these options.
Yeah,
that'd be a fun one.
That's a great fight. That's a great fight. Yeah, Chiesa, you're right, man. Chiesa's in a really good position right now. Just everybody can fight him because he beat Dos Anjos, the former champ. That wasn't the best performance either. I'm just gonna put it out there, right? It wasn't like, oh my god, Chiesa went out there and just fucking mauled his ass, like ate him for breakfast. He was like eating breakfast with the fucking tomato that you don't want to eat, right? He just did it, right? Just like with the beans and everything. So Chiesa definitely in a good position. And yeah, man, go ahead, Mike. What else we
Let's
got?
go through we got lots of comments here. The other day they made a fight for UFC on ESPN 9. Ji Young Kim versus Alexa Grasso, women's flyweight division in Austin, Texas. That's a good fight. Alexa Grasso jumping up to 25. Cynthia Calvillo also jumping up to 25. She's going to fight Antonina Shevchenko sometime next month. We'll see if that all goes down. I could see after London with UFC at the Apex, them making cards and finalizing a location for UFC 249. They ran promos today as if it's still happening in Brooklyn. Max El Kukui Holloway, the real deal. Thanks, buddy.
Max is on the
and he wants to know our thoughts on Robert Whittaker versus Darren Till being rumored for Dublin in August. So I think my first thought is, outside of the matchup itself, which I don't think anybody's going to argue that it's a fight that we'll all watch, is that they booked this main event or at least are targeting a main event a long ways down the road. The UFC very rarely does that. I mean, we got Bellator. They booked a main event for October, for God's sake. So I think that was like the biggest takeaway was the fact that they booked this thing so far down the road. But I like the matchup. I think the matchup makes all the sense in the world. And the other question I had was, what about Jared Cannonier? But obviously he must be still a little banged up at this point. So JHK, your thoughts on Whittaker versus Till in Dublin?
Fire, man. That's fire right there. I love that fight. Till is just getting another opportunity. I'm all about guys getting opportunities. All of these people talking about hype trains and stuff. Hype trains are great, but this is the fight game, man. You're going to lose, you're going to win. But opportunities, they only come once in a while. You got to take these opportunities. Does Till deserve a fight with Whittaker? I don't think so. I don't think he deserves that. But it's an opportunity. He snatched it up, and he doesn't have to fly to the States. He doesn't have to fly to Australia. He just flies. How far is Dublin from Liverpool, England? Probably like a couple hours flight, right? He could probably take the train there, and just have his own cart or something. Who knows, right? But anyways, it's just a good matchup. Both of those guys are gonna come out and bang, and I think that's what Till needs. He needs a guy that's gonna come directly at him. And what's important for Till is he got that one fight out the way. That like after losing those, getting knocked out and losing a couple fights, he got that fight out the way with Kevin Gastelum, where he kind of like snuck a decision. But he didn't perform to his abilities, and I feel like he regained his confidence with that win. Because you remember he was talking about he was scared to fight or not. He was like very nervous and he didn't want to go out and fight, before that fight. Yeah. And then he went out there and did a decent job, and I think that changed his mindset and mentally it kind of pushed him forward. And this fight, you're gonna see like the real Darren Till, the one that's careless, the one that's gonna put himself in danger to get the knockout. And that's actually very good for Whittaker too, coming off that loss against Stylebender. And man, it's exciting, man. Dublin is lucky, man. They got this thing announced. But like all fights, you don't know if they're gonna, stay in those positions until until they fly in and step on it. But one thing that's good is either of those guys are not gonna miss weight, because Till used to fight at welterweight, so he's most likely not going to miss weight. And Whittaker, I don't think he's ever missed weight, right? And he used to also fight at welterweight too, which is an interesting thing. So, yeah, striker's delight, man. That's what you want to call this, right? Striker's delight, power striker delight, which is even 10 times better. I feel like Conor McGregor will be cage side for this one, and he's gonna call out the winner.
So this will not be. So this will not be a good old-fashioned jab fest, JHK. Is that what you're telling us?
No. Even though I like those.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't like that? As Flubber from Another Mother says. Flubber from Another Mother also wants to say, and this might be the greatest compliment considering who it's coming from, says JHK is the brains of this operation.
No, Mike is the brains, man. Don't you know?
I just drive the train. I'm not the brains at all. I just steer, and then you guys are the brains. See, that's why I host these things, because I don't have to say shit. I let you guys say it.
He's in the front. He's the one who can do this. We can't do that.
Yeah, you guys can yell out the window and get people on the train. That's why you're here. I'm here just to sound, just be part of the conversation. Maybe it's just the glasses, Flubber from Another Mother says, but all right. So what else? All right, I gotta go back and remember all this. Moreno gets a win, Hebus gets a win, Elijah Zaleski gets a win. Although a lot of people feel that there's some tomfoolery there. Drake, what are your thoughts on that fight? I got to be honest with you, I did not watch that one. I just saw the reactions on Twitter, and I saw people who bet on Kuchenko being very upset that they got hosed on that call. Do you agree with them?
Yeah, I love Easy DS, man. I mean, how could you not? That guy is such a fun fighter to watch. Always brings it. And this was a good fight too. Don't get me wrong here, but and I did pick Elizu to win as well, but I gave him the first round, and then the last two, Kuchenko came back and I think took it. Edged it out fairly. He edged it out. I thought. I mean, it was a competitive fight, right? So it was good. It was all close and everything. In those last two, first round was very clearly Elizu's, but then, and then second was probably pretty most clear for Kuchenko. And it just came down to the third. And, I thought he edged it. And, most people seem to agree with that. But then all three judges gave it to, Zaleski, which, I think that the home cooking thing is a myth. I've written articles about that before. Written articles. Let's be grammatically correct here, Mr. Writer. So I don't know. Yeah, that was a weird one. That was the only thing really that I had an issue with, like all night. Well, there was a weird stand up in a fight. If we're going off of like officiating things, that was a problem. Didn't agree with that decision. Well, I guess I technically didn't agree with the first one either, but that was a fun fight. I don't really care how that turned out. But yeah, there was the weird stand up in one fight. But yeah, that decision, out of all the decisions we got, that was the one that I think most people don't agree with. I don't agree with it. Felt, like Kuchenko's fight with those last two rounds, but not a robbery.
I was waiting for it. Let's see. Marina Moroz gets a win. David Dvorak gets a win. B. Malecki gets a win. And we had a draw, the rare draw as well, with Ronnie Yaya and Enrique Barzola. So there you go. We had a little bit of everything tonight without a capacity crowd, which honestly, and I know we've touched on this before, I thought it was gonna be like the weirdest shit ever, and it wasn't. Like, it really wasn't. It was kind of awkward hearing the echoes, and I feel like once they got the sound right, because I don't even think ESPN was kind of prepared for that either. It was just normal. It was almost like watching New Japan Pro Wrestling in a weird way. But some of those at the Tokyo Dome, they have like 75,000 people there, and you can hear a freaking pin drop in that thing. So it was like I compared it to Halftime Heat when The Rock and Mankind went at it. And that no holds, but Mankind won by dropping a freaking crane on The Rock.
That's so funny.
We didn't see that tonight. So yeah, we got some people watching. If you guys want to chime in, give us a few more questions. Go right ahead. We'll go for a little while longer. Any other thoughts on Brasilia tonight, gentlemen? Anything stick out that we didn't touch on?
Oh, who does Hiba's fight next? Because she's on, I didn't think we got into that earlier. Like, she's beaten Whitmire. She's beaten who was that?
Dern.
Marcos, of course. Who was that before
Dern?
afterward?
Dern.
Yeah, Dern, right? And she beat Marcos, because Marcos, if you consider her, she's the gatekeeper of gatekeepers, if there's such a term, right?
Right.
In that strawweight division. And if you could get past her like Hibas did, that means like Hibas is legit, right? Like, because most of the other girls can't even do that to Marcos. So who does she fight next, man? Like, she wants to fight Paige Van Zandt. It's like everybody wants to fight Paige Van Zandt. Like, Paige Van Zandt is the Michael Chiesa of the of the strawweight division, right? It's like, or is she like the Colby Covington of the world? Why would you want to fight Paige Van Zandt? I don't even think she's fighting anymore. You know what I mean? Like, seems like her arm is really messed up.
Yeah.
And I would
she was supposed to fight
like
her.
surgeon. Yeah, she was supposed to fight her, and I'll be suing her surgeon or somebody, whoever's taking care of that arm, right? Because if you're fighting Paige Van Zandt next, as a fighter, wouldn't you be targeting that arm with kicks?
Sure.
Wouldn't that be the first thing, right?
Yeah.
Like that'd be the first. You're trying to take out your opponent. You're gonna take out the weakness, right? If they have a knee pad on, you're gonna kick their leg over and over and over again, right? Their ankle brace, kick that ankle, right? But yeah, who's fighting Hibas next? Like, I feel like she's the dark horse now.
Angela Hill? Did you do Angela Hill?
Oh, I actually suggested that. Angela Hill.
Yeah, I like that one.
Least Herrig if she comes back.
Okay, you took him. That was what I had. That was it.
Okay.
Herrig and Hill. Yep.
Okay.
Seems good. Works
Isha
for me.
Yeah,
And
what's
Torres.
the update on Herrick though? What's the update? You know anything about
should be
her
close.
situation?
Should be close because I mean, what tore an ACL, and that was a long time ago. She was supposed to fight Zhao Nan in, I think that was Singapore, and then I don't think Zhao Nan fought anybody, or maybe that was when Hill replaced. That was at 238. I got it all mixed up. That was
Yep.
supposed to be Zhao Nan versus Herrick at 238. Ended up being Hill. So 238 was in June. So yeah, I mean, she should be getting close. I mean, ACL takes a while, so I mean, Hill, she'll fight anybody, so might as well just go with that.
That's a fun fight
That's
too.
a great fight. So
If I had a choice, I would put Hibas against Zhao because it seems like there's not really many matchups that they're gonna make in the top of that division
Look at
against her. I
Drake's
know you
face.
want to, look at Drake's like he's like I got the perfect, but I think Zhao she took so much time off, and that win against
Where's my man?
Who did she fight? Who did she fight last time?
Who?
Carolina, right?
Carolina.
And let's be
that was a
honest,
beating.
that win against Carolina, it doesn't mean as much. Let's be honest. It doesn't mean as much, right? So I feel like you could put her against Hibas because Carolina, oh man, it's just kind of sad, like what her career has, like kind of ended as if she retires today. But I feel like she's not going to retire. But if she does, kind of sad, like the downward spiral it has gone to. But I think Jan. Why don't you put Jan versus Hibas, man? That's a decent matchup because it's
won 5
I feel
in
like
a row.
I know, but the thing is like. But the thing is, like, I feel like they're gonna turn down fights against her.
They
A lot of
have
the
been,
girls,
actually.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I don't think they're gonna put her against Zhang. I don't think that's gonna happen. Unless they're forced. The hand is forced. You know what I mean? So does she earn a title shot right now? No. So why not put against Hibas? And I think Hibas will fight anybody. And you might as well take advantage of that if you're the matchmaker. It's like, oh, Hibas, you want to fight anybody? Here's Jan in China. Okay, let's go. Let's do it. Because Brazilians love going to China and fight.
Apparently.
Look at Zaleski and
yeah.
Look at what's her name? Yeah, look at
Andrade.
Zhang and Andrade. So we'll see what happens. But yeah. So what do you think? What do you think about that?
I'd watch. I'd definitely watch that fight. I think Hill makes the most sense. I'm with you on that one. But John would be fun too. I mean, again, she's kind of in a good position too. She's sort of the rising contender right now. That's just outside the top 15. She might even sneak in there after that win. She's in a good spot. She's one of those fighters that if I had a few bucks of supplemental income, I could buy into somebody's stock. Hibas is one of those people that I would buy into for sure. I think she's got a bubbly personality. She's very marketable. Obviously, she gets over big with the Brazilian fans, and she can freaking fight. So there you go. She's on a really good path and a good trajectory right now. Max Holloway, how about Morose's boxing? Very crisp hands, I would agree. Flubber from another mother. Morose versus Silva or Zhang Weili versus Joanna and Jacek. I think the Flubber from another mother question below that. Jumanji or Flubber?
Honestly, Flubber's my childhood, man. I watched that movie.
Flubber's your childhood?
So much. Because when that came out, or maybe not when it came out, but I was like 5-6 years old, right? So I loved that movie so much. I haven't watched it in years, but I watched it so much growing up, dude.
How old are you, Drake? What are you, like 24?
Yes, yeah.
Fuck, man.
You're 24?
Surprise.
You could be my son.
We're the old dudes on the block, JHK.
Exactly, because I don't even know what Flubber is. Like I know Jumanji,
Robin
the
Williams.
old movie with Robin Williams, right?
Be my favorite Robin Williams movie.
And I never seen Flubber, you know what I mean? I didn't even know what that was, but yeah, now I know it's a movie that came out when Drake was a kid, when he was 6 years old.
That's the first time in my life that someone said my childhood was Flubber. Flubber was my childhood. Mine, like movie-wise, mine was like The Sandlot, Mighty Ducks.
I went to, yeah.
Exactly.
Things
Those
like that.
are the movies I remember.
Flubber.
Angels in the Outfield,
yes.
like anything to do with sports, right?
Major League.
Okay, boomer. Okay.
Yeah, we're the boomers. We're the most vulnerable to the coronavirus, you know?
Yeah,
like
Happy Gilmore, shit like that. Dumb shit.
Yeah, some of the 90s.
You know, Drake's going into all these serious movies like Flubber. Those classics. Yeah. when you go through Netflix and you go to the award-winning category, Flubber's there every single time. It's the first one that pops up. Matches up perfectly, 98%. Oh my God. What else? Can Macedo thrive at 135, or does she need to figure out getting to 125 in a healthy way, Drake?
Dude, yes, 1,000%. This, I tweeted this out too, and I've said this for a while. I mean, because Macedo, she's bounced back and forth. I don't know which weight class she's fought at more, but it's just, it frustrates me, man. When this fight was made, I was like, okay, because we got a former featherweight versus a former flyweight. They both should be in those divisions right now, I think. And then they fight each other. It looks really funny, this fight, first of all, but then it's competitive, so you're like, maybe it's okay. I don't know. It's kind of just so ridiculous. Well, first of all, in Bia's case, I mean, I guess you can't really blame her. She's actually fighting in a division, so that's what it is. So not as much of a gripe with that. But Macedo, man, I mean, you're not the biggest bantamweight. I get it, not cutting weight. That's good. I'm all for that. But I mean, she could probably make strawweight if she really wanted to, right? If she really dedicated herself to cutting that weight and everything. So, I mean, I think she's best fit at flyweight. But I think for her, it's just a case of not wanting to, do the weight cutting, which I get it, but you're not going to go too far anyways. I mean, I don't know. Who am I to judge what these people do with their bodies?
And on the same token, what about B. Malecki, says Joseph Boza? Does she fit at bantamweight or staying there because Dana and the UFC are too wishy-washy about 45? I mean, 45 is probably like the best case scenario. I mean, you're like 2 wins away from a title shot, but again, I don't know.
Yeah, she's top 5 in the featherweight division. Right?
Exactly.
She's definitely top 5. She might even be top 4 right now.
She hasn't even fought. She's just top 5, like automatically. Like if we did rankings today, she would be in the top 5. Like here you go.
What's that ranking system you guys are a part of?
The hardcore ranks.
Is there? Do you have women's featherweight in there?
No, we don't
I do,
have
but
that.
nobody else is doing it.
Just you, Drake?
He's special.
Yeah.
He's special.
It's because
he goes the extra mile.
Not hard. There's only 6 of them.
Yeah,
and Sarah Farron's the last because she hasn't got a win yet. And then Norma Dumont's right in front of her because she's only lost once, and she's like number 5. That's featherweight.
But I think it's smart for Malecki to fight at bantamweight, though. To be honest with you, if she can make the weight, it's better for her to go down there because like 145 is just like a parachute for her. A backup. You know what I mean? Like if she doesn't do well at 135, hey, let me go to 145 and test my hand there. 1 win and I get a title shot. Why not? Why the fuck not? Right? Like go fight Megan Anderson.
Probably earned a featherweight title shot just by winning a bantamweight. She's like, what? I want to go up now. It's like, well, she's on a good winning streak.
The Holly Holm effect, right?
There you go.
Exactly.
What else we got?
But I think with Veronica, if she would get a dietitian, like a nutritionist, go to the PI, you know what I mean? They do it all for you there if you can live there, right? And they have places you could sleep and everything. Why don't you just go there? I think a lot of the fighters, they just don't want to leave their comfort zones in many ways. And but there's a lot of fighters that went to Vegas and kind of transplanted to Vegas because of the PI, or at least spend months there. And I think they could do it. I think the UFC could help her get down to flyweight comfortably, where she's not even cutting weight. She's dieting down, ahead of time to where she does cut maybe 10 pounds or whatever, right? Which is where she should be at. Because it was weird to the face-offs was weird, it was I don't know, it was like that guy, in the Guinness Worlds of Great Records standing next to the shortest man on earth, right? It was kind of like that feeling, right? Wasn't it? When they took the pictures, right? It was weird. So that's just my weird thoughts on that fight.
Good friends at Split Decision MMA podcast. What is flubber is the line of the night.
He must be a youngin' then.
B dominated the fight without her head coach at Fortis MMA today. And so man, what an interesting time we're in. What an interesting event. The UFC goes forward with it, and I think it's something we all needed, but still at the same time, from a moral standpoint, they probably shouldn't have had the card tonight. But Dana White is gonna have these cards. He's gonna go up against everything, and he's even going to take on coronavirus at this point, and he thinks he can win. Maybe he can. I don't know.
He's got Trump in his back pocket, so
That's right. You know, Trump's made all the right decisions.
I talked to Trump. That's what he's. That was his like argument. Like I talked to Trump. Who cares? You talk to Trump, man. Like who cares? Like who is Trump? Yeah, he's the president, but who cares, right? That's like the only president that ever had. Like people say, like who cares? It's Trump. Like that's the only. Isn't it like the only president that people ever say that about? You know what I mean? Like even like George W. Bush had a bigger impact. And he was an idiot, right? So it's just, man, it's so funny. But so are we gonna be back next week? That's the big question, right? Like next week is UFC London. You guys have like what's gonna happen next week for you guys? You guys gonna watch that like live? I don't even know what time that's on.
If it happens,
I'm gonna. It'll be what? I'm trying to. What's it? I think it's an after. Is it an afternoon card or?
I don't know.
Let's look it up, shall we?
The
4 o'clock main card, 1 o'clock prelims.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, 1 o'clock. Your EST.
Eastern. Yep.
So
4 p.m. Yeah, 4 p.m. main card. I love that. God, that makes me happy.
Oh, damn, that makes. I have to wake up. Hey, I had to wake up early for this one. Like that one, I have to wake up early. Like I might even go to sleep. And you're gonna get a good version of me right there after that card's over, right?
Let's see, couple more comments, and then we'll wrap things up. Flubber from Another Mother, Split Decision. Mike Ekame is a flubber-friendly podcast. That's why I'm here. That's what we try to do. We try to be friendly to flubbers and sandlots everywhere. Max Holloway, Charles versus Cerrone or Iaquinta.
Cerrone, that's not bad.
Cerrone's actually not a bad idea because that's a good bump in name value. It's a sucky fight for Cerrone, though.
Yeah.
But it's a fight that he'd take. He ain't going to say no to that fight or any other fight. Do you think that's a good trajectory?
Iaquinta?
Yeah, I beat him.
Oh, okay. Well,
that was which card was that? It was a fight night card. I forget what it was. I don't know if it was No. Yeah, it was last year.
Cerrone, it was in Canada, right?
Was it a Canada fight?
Was
it Ottawa one? That's Ottawa one.
Yep.
Yeah, and then he fought. And then he fought Gaethje
right?
in Vancouver.
Yeah. It was a clinic. Like Cerrone just dominated that fight, right?
Great,
just a straight beat down for like. Was it a headliner?
It was main event.
Yeah, it was. That was an impressive performance by Cerrone, man. That was just he just showed the technician side of his game right there. But yeah, Charles Oliveira versus Cerrone, I'm down for that. Why not?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a big name for Oliveira. So yeah, man.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. I think, and we discussed this earlier. I think Oliveira deserves a bigger name at this point, but like in terms of the rankings, obviously Cerrone's a huge name. It'd be a good little coup to get a win there. But in terms of the rankings and where he sits, I think Oliveira probably deserves somebody higher. But I think, why not Cerrone? I think Cerrone's probably the more desirable matchup because you get a little more out of it. So there you go. Cerrone Gaethje was Canada. Yep. And I think pretty sure Iaquinta was Ottawa as well.
They both were. Yeah.
Let's see. Is it possible? I would like to hear your opinion about the potential effects of Corona pandemic to the MMA world. We kind of touched on that earlier. Should the UFC pay the fighters during this Corona season, or the workers are supposed to bear the burden by themselves? We kind of touched on this as well. Obviously, I think from a moral standpoint, we all agree that the UFC should be paying all of the fighters during Corona season. But again, history doesn't lie, and we're kind of in a weird position right now where it's independent contractors. And Drake brought up this would be like the perfect time to have an association or a union in these trying times. But now you get fighters who shouldn't be traveling internationally once again, heading over to London. I thought Ashley Evans Smith, that Brett Okamoto tweet was pretty interesting. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
14-day quarantine.
Yeah, so basically like the worst case scenarios were going to be quarantined after the fight, but it is what it is. They got to get paid. They got to make their money.
Yeah,
but
it's like the UFC's like you're playing Monopoly with the UFC, and then when money is the issue, they pull out that get out of jail free card right up on that ass and be like, here it is, buddy. There you go. You're an independent contractor, right? Which sucks, man. It's terrible, man. Like these, you talk to the fighters. We've all talked to fighters, hundreds of fighters, and you've been to the gyms. You know what they go through. You see it on the news all the time. If you follow the sport, man, it's like, man, you gotta pay this. You gotta pay these guys, man. You gotta pay them.
Yeah, I agree. With that being said, I think we're gonna wrap things up here. We went almost an hour and a half. Drake Riggs got to get out of here. He's got a hot date with some Bud Light oranges. But before he get back, first of all, I want to thank everybody. Oh, he's gone. He's got to go to the liquor store and get more Bud Light oranges. Before you get out of here, JHK, always a pleasure. We're gonna have to do this next week as well. You're gonna have to wake up, unfortunately. But anything you want to let the folks know about? We get your Twitter handle right there. But plug your page. Any interviews we should be on the lookout for this coming week?
No, that the coronavirus just fucked all that up for me, man. Like for the next week or so, I'm not doing anything except for like, I have a live chat Q&A thing about Asian MMA that I'm doing by myself. You can find that on the on the Twitter thing. Yeah, that's it. I do the live chat. It's gonna be on Monday, so like Monday EST, like 9 a.m. and in Asia it'll be like in the evening, late evening. So that's about the only thing I'm doing this week. Other than that, I just chilling out and trying to stay away from viruses.
There you go. Stay away from viruses and watch JHK's interviews. Got like 7,000 of them over the last few weeks. So check all those out. Drake, you finally got to, I want you to plug that article that you've been teasing us and sort of stringing us along with for a while. It has been released. So what do you want to let the folks know about? Because that's amazing stuff.
Yes, thank you, sir. I dropped my chat with Mac Malley at Mac Malley MMA on Twitter. Phenomenal, fun chat interview, all that fun stuff. You can go check it out on my MMA news. Just a bunch of ridiculousness. What you would expect from him if you know this guy already. If you don't, then you will be intrigued and entertained as you read on. Really fun thing to put together, and a unique story. That's just what it's all about, right? Making something a little different. So that's out there. Let's see what else I did. The second installment of the First Fight View series. If you haven't seen that, it's where I go back and watch fights that I've never seen before that have controversial decisions, endings, score them as I watch them. And see if I agree with the decision or not. I give my scores in the new rules, the old rules, and the global scorecard. So we end up with 3 scorecards, all from the same person. It's a fun thing to do. I love doing it. I have 2 of them now. I just did Zoila Frausto versus Megumi Fuji after 2 great women's fights with Weili Zhang and Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and then Lisa Versosa and Julija Stolyarenko. Did that after, felt appropriate. So you can find that on my MMA news as well, or on my YouTube page, Drake Riggs, my name. And then I got Jessica Andrade, an interview with her coming out next week, also from my MMA news. And, you can see all my stuff on Twitter as it comes out. So follow me there.
John Franklin asked, will you take one more victory lap on this Davidson business? And we sure will. But we'll save that Monday night. So for those watching right now, if you're looking to support, and trust me when I tell you, you're not going to want to miss this. Leave this page after we're done. And go to the search and go to Loudmouth MMA and subscribe to that network, because Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we already have our special guest lined up. It's Alex K. Lee from MMA Fighting. Davidson Baker is going to make good on his bet. And if you don't know about it, go find me on Twitter. Davidson Baker said that he will shave his head like Larry David from Curb Your Enthusiasm if Johnny Walker and Nikita Krylov goes to a decision. And guess what? It went to a decision. Do you believe in miracles? So he's going to show up with the stupidest haircut you've ever seen. I cannot wait.
You should have him do it live on the show.
I want the reveal on the show. Like, I want him to wear this, like a hat like this. Okay. Don't show anybody. And then he takes it off like live as we introduce him. I cannot wait to see this dude come through. So leave here, go to Loudmouth MMA, subscribe, and get ready for that shit. Between the Links, it's going to be amazing. If you haven't seen Between the Links, 4 journalists, they battle it out, and they for supremacy for the week. JHK's been on it, Drake's been on it. It's a good time, and Alex has been on it a few times, so he's always a good guest. So thank you guys very much. Hope you guys enjoyed the card. Thanks for watching, and have a great weekend. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Later.